All right, guys, so this is something that I never thought that I would say on this channel ever, but let's go ahead and check out some Skechers basketball shoes. Hey, what's good, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we are taking a detailed look and breakdown on two brand new basketball shoes from Skechers Performance, of all things. So another thing that I never thought I'd say is thank you, Skechers, for supplying the shoes. I do appreciate it. But I am going to keep things 100% honest. Some things I like, some things I don't. The one thing that I just don't like is, you know, this is a Curry knockoff, essentially. And then this one is an Under Armour anatomic, or it wasn't anatomic, it was the Under Armour Bionic Spine, or what was that shoe called? Oh, it was Spine Bionic. I was close. It was 10 years ago. I reviewed the shoe a decade ago, and that's really what this shoe right here reminds me of. Now, outside of the overall looks package, I think that what they've done here so far is very solid. I just wish personally that the price points were a little bit lower, only because that is what we've come to expect from the Skechers brand. You know what I mean? So high prices and Skechers are not two things commonly said together. And so that's my only like main criticism, besides, you know, just kind of like bootlegging or copy and pasting from another brand. But some of the things that they've done really right is actually on the box itself. So not only do you have a Skechers Performance box, but they straight up tell you like what the tech specs are, and they call them tech specs. They're not being shy about it. They're not being coy about it. It's being listed on both boxes right here. So, you know, I think that that's really cool. And it's something that some of the largest brands in this space should take note of, because people do want this stuff. Like, they do want to know this type of information. It's exactly why this channel exists. Now, I forgot to talk about the names of the shoes. They both start off with the SKX moniker, one of which is labeled right here on the back of this shoe. The other one's got it right here on the tongue. I don't know what that stands for. I don't know if that's supposed to be, you know, Skechers X or Skechers Court or something. Like, I don't know what the X stands for. They did send me this weird brief.
So you want to buy a house?
Yes, that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of homework. But I also liked this too. This was sent by the PR people. And of all the information that's on here, it does not say what SKX stands for. But either way, this model right here is called the Float. And then the other model right here is called the RESAGRIP. And this one's pretty self-explanatory. I think I'm going to go over this model first, just because I think this is the best looking between the two. Now, as far as the tech is concerned, this is where things like really get interesting, and it's right from the jump. It's their RESAGRIP tech. So much like Adidas, how they have partnered with or licensed out Continental rubber from the Continental company, Skechers has done it with Goodyear. Like, it's so weird, you know what I mean? Like, to come right out the gate with licensing is expensive, which is possibly why these cost $150. I think that that is their second mistake, besides the overall like look package. Like, obviously this is kind of like a Curry, and then this one was the Bionic Spine or whatever. I think that introducing both of these models at $150, while is a good price overall, I just, again, don't think that that matches up with the Skechers brand per se. I think that if they were like 95 or under, then that would have been like a really good sweet spot. But again, maybe it was the licensing, maybe it was just all the brand new tooling, who knows. Now, for this portion, I just think it'll be easier to show you on the paper or whatever, but like it's a really interesting, you know, setup and everything. They obviously point out to like what the materials are and stuff like that, but we've got performance outsoles, again, RESAGRIP technology from Goodyear, but it also says that there's hyperburst cushioning in the shoe. And I believe that the hyperburst stuff is their supercritical foams. So the stuff that is nitrogen based, and then it's really interesting the way that stuff starts, because it starts off like this big.
That's what she said?
We actually talked about this in, was it the Puma, the MBO2s, I think it was, where like we were able to show what this kind of stuff looks like pre and post production. So the material starts off like this big, they put it in a nitrogen chamber, and the thing blows up to whatever the actual size is going to be. It's so fascinating how that even works. I would love to see it happen like in real time. I think that would be crazy. But anyways, that's supposedly what is inside of this shoe right here. Is that what the foam itself, or the RESAGRIP, or whatever it's called, comprised of? That's what I'm not exactly sure about. The strobel that's inside of the shoe is a foam-based strobel, which I think is a great move, but it's hard for me to see past the little die cut or alignment line that's in there, or it's a die mark, it's just a little circle, and they use that for alignment and everything like that. But it's hard for me to see in there. Usually if there's like a zoom unit or an air unit or something like that, you can kind of see the impression and everything, and so you can kind of confirm what's in there. So this, I don't know what the setup is. I'd be very curious to see someone cut these in half, like Foot Dr. Zach, if he wants to cut these in half, just so that we can see what the implementation of their hyperburst technology actually looks like in this thing. I think that that would be really cool to do. But as far as the way that it all feels, it just kind of feels like flow. So if you liked flow technology from Under Armour, then you'll probably like the way that this feels too. It's a very neutral mid, if you want to use that word. I feel like I'm just way too old to say that. But hey, we're reviewing a Skechers basketball shoe. Anything goes at this point. Now, as far as the Goodyear aspect and the rubber, if you want to call it that, like the outsole, it's so weird. First off, it's decoupled, which is kind of cool. Like not completely decoupled, but you know, it's decoupled primarily on the bottom. It is connected through the top line of the midsole. So it's not a full-on decoupled setup. It just looks like it is. But this is the part that I just find very interesting. So it's Goodyear, but it's not rubber, it's foam. Do I think that it's going to perform really well like the way that Flow does on basketball courts? I think it's possible. When I take them onto our little basketball floor stage over there, they do actually grip, but we're going to have to like throw things at it, like different court surfaces and different courts in general, dust, moisture, friction, speed, momentum changes, all of that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for a performance review. We will be having one of those coming. The insole is actually pretty bitchin', dude. Like this thing is cool. This is where a lot of the comfort actually comes from, what we call step-in comfort. So when you put your foot in here and this is what you land on, or you know, your foot is resting on, it doesn't feel half bad. When you take this out and then you try them on, that's when you can really tell that their version of the Flow, or whatever you want to call this, RESAGRIP, it's just kind of whatever. Now, like I was saying earlier, there is a midfoot plate that makes it look like it's very decoupled. So technically the full-on outsole is separate, but because these are two whole pieces of foam that are connected through the top line, it's not exactly decoupled, it just has that visual cue. And I do think that the arch plate or the torsional plate right there is very nice, it's very substantial. Now the materials are basically what you see everywhere else, so that's where things are just kind of whatever, you know what I mean? We got ripstop, we've got fuse panels. I love the way that they call it though on their little sheet. It says hot melt overlays. I've always just called them heat welded, so I don't know if hot melt is their term or if it's an actual industry term, but I thought it was cool. I was a little concerned that this little piece right here would actually dig into your toe upon flexing, but when I put them on and I started moving them around and everything, I actually didn't feel it whatsoever. So I do think that it's thin enough to not be bothersome, but also thick enough, and obviously it's plastic, so it's gonna be durable enough for long-lasting play and durability overall. I love the little lockdown kind of straps that go into the strobe or the footbed. I think that was also a great move. The eye stays pretty traditional. You have the secondary eyelet right there in the back of the collar, so you can do one of two things with that. You can, or one of three things, I guess. You could not use it, or you can use it and it'll draw your heel really far back into the back of the shoe, which gives you the support that you would normally call ankle support, even though ankle support's not really a thing. Your ankle is the support. As long as your ankle, your foot, and the shoe are not shifting, then that's good. If it is shifting and moving and flopping and things like that, if things don't fit you right, then that's bad. It doesn't matter what's in there, it's not gonna work. So you could do those two things, or you can actually implement a runner's loop if you wanted to. So say that secondary eyelet's still not working for you, you can throw in that runner's loop, and that probably, or most likely, will fix any heel slip or slipping or sloppiness that a fit might have with you. The tongue is very interesting. It's gusseted, so it's like a full-on sleeve and everything like that. It's kind of stiff, even though it is this ripstop material. I think it's just because it's very nicely padded. And then there's actual perforations all the way down through it, so I think that that's a good move too. I really like the lining that they use. It feels soft and plush. It doesn't feel premium or anything like that, but it feels okay. And then the back material is just a synthetic. It's got a nice little kind of like texture. I don't even know what to call that. Almost looks like a jersey material, but nothing to write home about as far as the materials. In my personal opinion, I think that this is as basic as it gets, but it's also very much an industry standard at this point. Like, this is no different than the majority of Nikes, Adidas's, and things like that that we see on the market. And here we have the SKX FLOAT. So the outsole is the one thing that I love. It's still Goodyear, so I think that's really cool, but it's not their RESAGRIP or whatever they're calling this foam stuff. So this is foam, but still made by Goodyear. Very weird, but cool. And then this is actually Goodyear rubber, and the pattern alone just looks amazing. So I think that this is gonna grip really well. Again, it works really well on our basketball court stage over there. And if you guys have been watching the channel for any length of time, you already know that herringbone and radial, those are the two almost best traction setups that you can start off with. And then everything else comes down to rubber compound. So if the Goodyear rubber compound ends up being great, then this could be a great gripping shoe. If it's sucks, then even though there's radial on there, which could save it a little bit, it might not do anything great in general. So fingers crossed, hopefully they work out. Now, where I'm very impressed with this model in particular is just their overall cushion and feel. So they still state that this has their hyperburst technology, but unlike the last model, you can actually kind of see what they're talking about. So the white portions that you see are just an EVA carrier, and then all of the holes that you see there kind of let you see into, I guess there would be like just a dual density setup. So the other density of foam, which I assume is what they're calling their hyperburst. But either way, this shoe right here is actually really comfortable. So whereas the other model was just kind of like meh, these ones actually feel really comfortable and everything. Like you could feel the cushion in there. So I really dig it. The insole is the same as the last, in case you're wondering. So you got that nice step in comfort, both of which are not glued down though. So if you don't want to use those and you did wear an orthotic or anything else, you can always swap it out for whatever it is that you use. Same exact material setups though. We've got kind of that ripstop material. We've got mesh. We've got the heat welded materials on the toe and everything like that for durability. We've got synthetic on the back, but then we've also got a micro mesh. So this one actually has like a dual or a split layer. So the main portion of the lateral side has that micro mesh collar, whereas the medial side has a synthetic leather on there. The internals sculpting and everything like that feels very similar to the other ones, so they just feel nice. They also have very traditional eye stay setups, and they have the dual ankle setup as well. So same thing, you can do the runner's loop, you can use the second eyelet, you can not. It's all depending on what you want or what you need. This one's tongue is gusseted too, so just in case you're curious, but this one's more of an open-celled mesh versus this guy right here that was a ripstop with perforations throughout. Last but not least, they have a very nice support feature right here. So you got this little plastic piece, you can see it in the back, but you can also see it like move on up. Now, as far as fit is concerned, they actually both fit the same. I don't know if the last is the same on both shoes, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. So if you were interested in trying these out, I would go true to size. They do feel like they will be fairly wide foot friendly. Like they don't feel like they're suffocatingly tight or anything around the foot. It's just lengthwise, they fit true to size. They feel good to go. But with that being said, let us know what you think about Skechers' first real attempt at performance basketball, and let us know what you think about everything that we talked about. Do you think that the overall looks are too similar to Under Armour's previous models? Do you think that Goodyear making a foam outsole thing is good or bad? I don't know. I still don't even know what to think about that. Which of the two do you think looks the best? So with that being said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. So until then, have a good one.